This is a Pulp archive recording. All public Pulp archive recordings are licensed under Creative Commons. For more information or to support us, please visit patreon.com/pulparchive. This episode was prepared by Saul and narrated by Tucker, the digital narrator. Twin Wallets by Stephen Payne. West July 1926. This episode contains period-typical depictions of crime, violence, and mild profanity. Listener discretion is advised. Hickety Hike Allison figured to block a double-cross when he went along with Twister Castle and the beef shipment money. He did, but the double-crosser ran into a triple-cross, and Hickety Hike found himself caught where explanations were no help at all. The stock train grinds to a halt. Squinting out of the caboose window, I see nothing but darkness and a brakie with a lantern. However, my smeller tells me it's South Omaha, my destination, for the muggy air is double-charged with an odor unlike any other in the world, the combined scent from stockyards and packing plants. A switchman accosts the brakie. "What you got this time, Jim?" 69 loads of cattle and sheep and 1 load of hogs, says the brakie, indicating the caboose with his lantern as he utters the word hogs. Evidently, he doesn't discriminate between the cattlemen and sheepmen occupying said caboose. Zed Perkins and Twister Castle join me with their war bags and prod poles in their hands. Well, rub the sleep out of your eyes and shake a hoof step and a half, says Perkins, giving the words his customary slurring inflection and applying the smart aleck moniker which he's seen fit to tie onto me. Account of the peculiar way I walk ever since a muley steer butted full tilt into a corral fence, inconsiderate enough not to wait until I had time to remove my leg from between his head and said fence. I never did cotton to a fellow who makes sport of another man's infirmity, and I like this Zeb less than not at all. He's a beady-eyed, dish-faced hombre with the disposition of a buffalo gnat, being from the same range. He, Casso, and I have stuck together thicker than thieves all the way down from Daggett, which is our loading point. Twister Castle's a florid-faced, brown-mustached fellow, built on the order of a Hereford bull, as his nickname tells. He's a bronc fighter, and rumor has it that he ain't none too particular about what brand's on the horse he straddles. However, nothing's ever been cinched onto him, and he's a pretty agreeable traveling companion. Horse thieves are nice sociable cusses when they ain't working at their profession. Just now, he's shipping the entire herd of cattle belonging to himself and his partner, Rube Harden, back in Lobo County, where the three of us hail from. The boys call me Hickety Hike Allison for 2 reasons. The first being my gait. The second, my favorite yell at the dogies, which same I've been punching steady during the past several years for Dan McKay, owner of the 4 Up and 4 Down. I am in charge, as shipper, of 2 loads for him now, and it ain't wholly by chance that I am in the company of Twister Castle. No, I had to do some scheming and use more tact and words than a politician to induce McKay to let me throw 2 loads in with the Castle Harden cattle, trail with them to Daggett, and accompany the shipment to market. The reason behind my action may prove just a foolish suspicion, but I am playing the limit on any hunch I get, which might result in my getting on the good side of Cole Lampman. You see, in all the 23 years of my life, I ain't entertained one serious thought concerning the future until I meet a nifty-hoofed little thoroughbred named Bessie Lovejoy. But it appears she needs something to call home. Besides, a saddle and a tarp-covered bed seems that I'll have to accumulate some possessions before I can slap the ring brand onto Bessie. Times ain't so good among the cattlemen, and prognosticating around on my quest for something with a roof over it and land around it, I get help to 320 acres on the Beaver, with stock and fixings, and the debt-ridden hombre who owns it is just pining for somebody to take it off his hands for half its value in cash. Said cash is as plentiful with me as pines above timberline, but I've just got to have that place, so I hie me to old Cole Lampman, whose business is lending money. He's a lanky old grouch, with a dyspeptic look, a crusty manner, and plenty of cash, which he don't entrust to no bank. He lost $100.20 once, and rumor says that he now has his creditors pay him in cash, no checks for him. Coming out of his door, my hail, he growls. "Well, and his bushy eyebrows draw down like thunderclouds on a mountain. I state my case, stressing my worth and my needs. From then on, he takes the deck and deals off the bottom. Have I ever done one thing to show that I deserve to be set up in business? No. Have I ever shown myself to be worthy of being helped? No. I learned that I am a happy-go-lucky, thriftless, irresponsible cowpoke with nothing in my empty head except a perfect mania for putting up a job on somebody. And he's got powerful, strong suspicions of who 'twas that took his white pony away from the hitch rail in front of Widow Gunlick's house one dark night and tied a white cow there instead. I didn't tie her, I venture. I am the one as saddled her, and seeing as the widdy doctored up your injuries when the cow unhorsed you, and 'twas thus that you won her, you oughter thank me. I am explaining 'cause I know you like fellers to tell the truth. He favors me with a hostile glare, steps back into his house and slams the door. That slam slams all the hopes I've got of a future. Thus he's sympathetic. But plumb hard about this home business. McKay can't help me any fact. Nobody except Cole Lapman's got any money. And I guess he ain't got any too much, for he's ordered Castle and Hardin to put wheels under their entire herd of cattle, seeing as his mortgage is overdue. I speculate about that. In our country, everybody knows everybody else's business. And I know Castle and Hardin ain't got one thing. They rent the place where they hang out and trade around. It's sort of funny that Lapman ever backed him on the cattle. Won't Twister be carrying the proceeds from that shipment of cattle around 300 head back from Omaha in cash? Of course, Cole asked for his payments in cash. Now, supposing Castle should take a notion to skedaddle with that sum of spondylix, what's to prevent him? Nothing, supposing again that somebody figure just like I am doing and take a notion to rob Twister if a waddy named Hickety Hike Allison's on hand to prevent either of those happenings. Won't old Crab Lampman sort of appreciate it? Grabs my hat and telescope and ambles after Twister and Zeb, who are leading out across line after line of railroad tracks all lighted by a morning star that's tired out and almost ready to knock off. Presently we reach the exchange building, whose swinging doors are never locked. Perkins turns to the right and climbs a stairway. He's consigned his 3 loads of cattle to a different firm than Castle and me. We go down a dim corridor and enter a door marked Brooks Bros, Livestock Commission Merchants, although it's only 5 by the clock on the office wall. Frank Brooks of Brooks Bros is sitting on the table reading a paper. A big, well-fed, clean-shaven man with a hearty handclasp and a genial manner. He makes us at home once while his rapid-fire tongue clips out sentences faster than a barber can ask questions. Market's off course, always is. Heavy runs this fall, always are. Hard on the cowman, what you got, Allison? Fat cows, they'll sell well if they're prime. Hard to move 'em if they're lumpy, gutty, or warmed up. You and Hardin got mixed stock, eh, Castle? Some beef steers, some stockers and feeders. Fat cows, wet cows, canners, calves, veals, Bologna bulls, you bet we'll sell 'em. There's a buyer on the Omaha market for every class of cattle on earth, alive or dead. Sure thing, we'll have the feed and water in the pens for 'em. Your stuff will be up from the chutes about 8. Boys, take it easy. I'm going out in the yards. You see, when you get to the market, you don't have a thing to do with your cattle anymore, unless it is to answer the brand inspector's questions or tell a commission man to use his own judgment. That he knows best when he reports to you that he's got a bid on your stuff of $1 a 100 pounds, less than you ever thought you'd have to take. You just walk around on top of the fences, smoking a big cigar and trying to look prosperous while you look over acres and acres of cattle pens cut by alleys and cross alleys, with here and there a scales house in their midst. While over at one side is the great packing houses with viaducts leading upward, and into them up the alleys. From the unloading, also loading chutes, surges cattle and more cattle, empty-flanked, hollow-eyed from their long railroad journey. Thousands of 'em, beef in the making and beef on the hoof, filling the pens that were filled and emptied the day before. Yee-hoo, 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 hip. Yoo-hoo, yoo-hoo, yee-hoo, hip. Sounds the yells of the stockyards punchers. Hurry 'em, hurry 'em. Get 'em out of the alleys into the pens, sort 'em. Sell 'em through the alleys and over the scales with 'em, and they're gone from your sight and ownership. Grass beef, canners, veals to the packing houses, feeders, stalkers to the Great Corn Belt. The fences swarm with men, half of them carrying whips which brand them as traitors. Down the alleys clatter men on horseback, carrying whips, commission men and buyers, matching their wits in the battle of trade, speaking a jargon expressive and pithy. And over it all, King Barter holds sway on the fence, where at about 11 Zeb Perkins joins us. Castle and I find the Brooks Bros. Block allotment of pins and perch. My stuff's sold, says he, looking down his nose. Top cows brought 4 cents, weighed 10.9. They're all mortgaged, he continues. I couldn't get a cent, not even expense money. They're getting all fired persnickety about turning every cent over to the party that holds the paper nowadays. I ain't hardly enough money to get back home. It's sure a hard game. Tough luck, Twister replies, twiddling his brown mustache thoughtfully. We don't get nothing for all our work either. All the proceeds go to Lampman. That reminds me, I want to buy a wallet. Zeb and I tag along with him as he goes over to the store section of South Omaha, where the keenest traders on earth lurk and wait for hombres like us, almost dragging us into their stores and forcing us to buy things we don't need. Twister is on to him. He haggles and finally purchases for 50 cents a red leather billfold about 7 inches by 4, marked 2.5. Later, when we've eaten dinner and are lounging in Brooks Bros' office, Zeb excuses himself to go to his commission house, and I, taking a notion to buy a pair of socks, wanders over to the same store where Castle bought his wallet. Just as I am about to enter, I see Zeb paying for a billfold exactly like the one Twister purchased. His back is to me, and I draw a long breath and back out hurriedly. What's he want with a wallet? He said he had no money. Why didn't he get it when Twister got his? I wonder if he'll show it to Twister. He doesn't, or even mention it when the 3 of us are together in Brooks Bros' office. Once more, I decide to keep quiet. Frank Brooks comes in, places his whip in a corner, slips out of his muddy boots and puts on his shoes. All cleaned up on you fellows' stuff, says he. The bookkeeper'll have your sales sheets made out in a minute. Come in my office a moment, Allison. Inside his private office, he says, McKay sent us no instructions. I suppose the money goes to the Cheyenne Bank as usual? What if I'd ask for it in cash? Says I. He shoots me a quick look. I wouldn't give it to you. McKay's cattle are mortgaged. If I turned that money over to you and anything happened, we'd be held liable. That's so? Well, I certainly don't want to carry it, but you'll turn the proceeds from mortgaged cattle over to Cassell. Brooks frowns and, lifting a paperweight, looks at a letter. That's different, he says. Here's a letter from Cole Lampman authorizing, in fact ordering me to do just that, say Allison. What ails that crazy old codger? I don't like this a little bit. Bank drafts are safe, cash isn't. He figures just the opposite, I guess, I answer. Brooks drums on the desk with the paperweight. With times like they are, and cattlemen going broke right and left, men that you think are honest sometimes change overnight, he says, thoughtful. I think Lampman's a fool. However, this letter puts us in the clear, and it's none of my affair. That's all, Allison. I'll send McKay's money to Cheyenne. A few minutes later, Zeb and I are both watching as Brooks calls Twister to the cashier's window and counts out $9,000 in big bills. It's a lot of money, says Brooks. Zeb and I and Castle are all pretty tense-faced. We think so, too. Now this all goes to Cole Lampman, don't it, Castle? Brooks continues. Twister nods every cent. Such being the case, Brooks proceeds, I am going to wrap this wad in a paper and seal it. It'll be less noticeable that way. He lays the bills on a piece of brown wrapping paper and folds it around them. Good idea, Castle allows. I'll hand the old boy the package just as she comes from you. Yes, and I'll seal it. Brooks turns to a desk, opens a drawer, and produces some sticky paper, his back toward us for a moment. Then Castle receives the package with slightly shaky hands, and placing it in his new wallet, puts that in his inside vest pocket. Sign this receipt, Brooks requests. Twister does so. "We'll get our contracts converted into tickets and drift out of here on the midnight train," says he. Which is what we do. Zeb and I sticking closer to Twister than a newborn colt to its mother's flank. However, Castle makes no suspicious move whatever, and when we reach Daggett in the evening a few days later, it looks as though my unauthorized shadowing will end in being just that. We have left our saddle horses in the livery stable so as to ride back home, but it is too late to start, and at the hotel we get a room with 2 beds in it. Then we start out to see the town, Zeb allowing that it's high time we had a little spree all the way to Omaha and back and not drunk once. That won't do at all. His credit's good at 2 saloons, and he starts out to make the party a stemwinder. Twister's leery at first, but as 3 or 4 drinks warm his blood, he throws caution to the wind. Something tells me to keep steady. Zeb's generally one awful tightwad, and he's too apparently trying to get me and Twister dead drunk. I notice him red-egging on the stuff when he thinks we are noticing, and I think of that billfold exactly like Castle's, which he's never shown. His manner's a lot nicer toward me than usual, and he urges me to drink frequent and constant. I certainly have to do some sleight of hand tricks with my glass, but I manage to keep steady while pretending to be 3 sheets in the wind. 'Tis that at about 11, Zeb, with a box of cigars he's bought at one saloon under one arm, and me hanging to that arm, and his other arm supporting Castle, gets the 2 of us almost by main strength up the single flight of stairs and into our room at the hotel. Castle manages to tuck his coat and vest under his pillow, then flops on one bed. I do another flop onto the single bed. Zeb observes us critically with a grin of triumph, warping his ugly dish face. He's feeling pretty good, but not the least shaky, I observe, while I groan and grunt and snore, keeping time to Castle's heavy rumble. Sure that we're both dead to the world, Zeb extricates Twister's coat and vest from under the pillow, and removing the red wallet, places the one exactly like it back in Twister's pocket, then stuffs coat and vest back under Castle's head. His next move is to open the box of cigars which he'd laid on the table. Removing its contents, he places Twister's wallet in the box, then fills it with cigars, throws the extra ones out of the window. He seems in doubt of what to do with the cigar box, but decides to leave it in plain sight on the dresser as it crawls in beside Castle. Pretty slick. Thinks I... Evidently he plans to ride right along with us back to Lobo County, cash the money and stay around, acting just as always until all the hubbub dies down. The proper thing for me to do is wait until Twister's sober, then accuse Zeb and prove my charge. But my love of a prank gets the best of my better judgment. Want to be the biggest gosh. Awfulest joke ever played on Smarty Zeb when he opens his cigars and finds nothing but cigars in the box. Before the others are awake in the morning, I go out, purchases a box of cigars exactly like Zeb's, and ties them in my slicker behind my saddle. I have no chance to make an exchange until noon, when we stop at a roadhouse for dinner there. I take a sudden sick spell at the table, which ain't to be wondered at considering the whiskey of last night, and rushes to the barn. Zeb's left his cigars in his saddle pocket, and it's a matter of a very few moments to exchange boxes with him. I go right back to the house feeling much better. My hunch has been right in at least one respect, at Castle and Hardin's place. I'll hand over the wallet and tell him. They'll tell Cole Latman and he'll change his opinion of Hickety Hike. Of course, we won't have anything on my enemy Perkins except the satisfaction of thwarting him. I am feeling even better humored than Zeb, who seems plumb elated about something. As we resume our journey, Castle's recovered from his jag, and having several times assured himself that his wallet's safe, he also is in high spirits. Jogging along leisurely, we reach the top of Foxgull Chill in the timbered mountains on the last lap of our homeward ride. There, a tall man with a black hat pulled over his ears and a bandana, hiding every other part of his face except his eyes, steps out from behind a tree barring our path and pointing a pistol the size of a cannon straight at us. He's dressed in miner's hobnailed shoes, bleached blue overalls, and a faded brown shirt. His brief orders are spiced with frequent by-gobs as he lines the 3 of us up with our backs to him, removes our gun belts, then goes through our pockets, informing us that if any one of us makes one move, he'll plug, first the one he happens to be searching. Upon getting the red leather wallet from Twister, he drops the small plunder he's taken from me and Zeb, and shoving this last find in his hip pocket, he takes our gun belts, mounts Twister's horse, and hazing mine and Zeb's ahead of him, disappears up the road toward Lobo County. Castle is plumb thunderstruck and all broke up. The money, he mutters. Who'd ever thunk it robbed? I don't know what me and Hardin'll ever do. How we ever pay Lampman? Serves him right if we can't ever pay him. He had no damn right asking a man to carry that money in cash, and he breaks out cussin'. Zed's steppin' all over his upper lip, in fact. He acts as if he'd been robbed. Taking our Bronx is the last straw, he mouths, vowing vengeance. As for me, I've got a big hope that Mr. Bandit'll abandon our horses. Surely he won't bother with a slicker tied behind my saddle. We hoofs it up the road as fast as we can, me lagging a little count of my limp, which causes Perkins to shoot it into me again in his Darden manner. I aches to flatten his face still further. A mile, and we come upon our Bronx tied by the road. I gives one look. My heart races, then I go sick all over. My slicker's gone. Zeb, on the contrary, does a wordance of joy as he hauls the box of cigars out of his saddle pocket and offers me and Twister a smoke. It's all I can do to keep from knocking him out of his hand. Why, the blue blazes couldn't the cussed bandit have taken him instead of mine? And all our guns is gone. That bandit's coming back this way was done for a blind. Twister allows. He's circled and headed for Daggett, likely. What we going to do? We can't do a thing without guns. And it's really the sheriff's job, I spout. But, by jinx, I am a-goin'. Kay, grab that bird. Woo-hoo-hoo. Scackles. Zeb juices. Listen, at step and a half, you'd think he was the one as was robbed. Ooh, 80 fierce. I strangles a wild desire to tell Twister what I'd seen that dishaste Nat do. For it suddenly smites me with terrific force that, without the cash to turn over to Twister, I'd have hard work explaining. And come to think of it, would my explanation be acceptable, even if I did have it? Well, you flag your kite for Lobo and get the sheriff, says Castle. And Zeb, will you go get Lampman while I'll go to our place and get Rube ready? You fellows burn up the earth and meet us at our ranch. Jake, says I, and sprues my hoss by fanning the breeze. I am headed back from Lobo with the sheriff in an hour and a half. Roggen's his name. He's a big fleshy lunker with a bullet head, pig eyes, a gruff voice, and plumb self-satisfied manner. He's sure glad some excitement's come up. Ain't been much doing since he was elected. He's itching to show folks they's got a sheriff as will get results. Hope to die if he ain't, and he believes in treating 'em rough. He'll third degree 'em if they don't come clean with him. Yep, and he's the law. He don't need the backing of the court to enforce it. And you three cottontails, let one man hold you up. You always armed too, that's sure, lowly. Cool'll hope to die if it ain't. As we near the Castle Hardin place, Cole Lampman and Zeb Perkins join us. Cole don't look any more displeased with everything on earth than usual, but Zeb's disgruntled yet plumb on the prod. Manner lets me know that he's investigated his box of cigars. I can't help grinning, and he sees the grin his teeth grinds, and he gives me a dirty look, his beady eyes full of suspicion. Reen, and up in the yard we hear a fearful row going on in the house. Rushing to the door, we see Twister and Rube all tangled up, a-fightin' just like bobcats. They've been going it for several minutes, for the room is a scrambled wreck. Now Rube, who's a big, swarthy-faced, black-mustached hombre, gets Twister down and clamps his throat. I'll get ya, you Dan double-crosser, he snarls, oblivious of our presence. Roggen and I drag him off Castle. Hey, cut out this comedy stuff. Roggen grunts. Purity mess you birds is made of your little nest. Hope to die if it ain't. Now what's all this scrap out? None of your dang business. Rube grits when he can speak. I give Twister first aid a drink of whiskey. He can't talk. He's so choked, and he's surely taken one awful beating before Rube got him down. I suppose, rumbles Lampman, glowering around, that Rube's sore because Twister allowed himself to be robbed. You hit the nail on the head, Rube Harden nods, emphatic. Danged hunk of mush to let hisself be held up. Cuss him, he wouldn't believe me, Kessel sputters. Getting hold of himself and flashing the queerest look imaginable at first me and Zeb, but there's murder in the glare at his partner Rube. I've always heard that they got along well together, but now they're loving each other like a pair of tomcats. Well, you've been robbed and that's all they are to it. Rogan allows. So now, you fellers, forget your squabble and come along with me. I'm deputizing the bunch of you. We'll go right back where that bad man left you fellers. Hosses pick up his trail, follow him and get him. Hope to die if we won't. Ain't that simple, sneers Zeb Chicken, his tongue against the top of his mouth. It's pretty nigh dark, and all we gotta do is pick up the bandit's track, follow him and get him. Let the sheriff handle this. Lamon barks, so the six of us take the back trail, reaching the place where our hosses had been left. Rogan sets us to ride in circles around it in a search for tracks. I am chosen to accompany him. We find no traces of the bandit, which ain't to be wondered at, for the ground is dry and rocky as well as timber-covered. Fox Gulch runs parallel to the road at our right, and the sheriff and I drop down into it. Almost at once we come to a tunnel in the hillside. A hoss is tied in the little clearing before this tunnel, and as we approach, a tall, gray-whiskered, hawk-eyed old fellow comes out of it and blinks at us. For a moment I pay scant heed to him, for tied across the back of the saddle on the hoss is a slicker one, which I'd know among 1,000. Mine, and hung over the saddle horn, are 3 belts, with holstered revolvers. Rogan sees them. Stand juice as you are, he roars at the miner. You're under arrest. Huh? You never thought Sheriff Rogan be along so doggone quick, did ya? Allison let out a couple of war whoops and fire a couple of shots to bring the rest of the boys in. Under arrest? What the hell are you talking about? Yelps the miner as I knits the whoops and fires the shots as directed. By gobs, I've been working back in the tunnel all afternoon. Getting ready to go to my camp, about a mile down the gulch, say? You damn fool, what you pointing that gun at me for? Don't you know who I am? Sure. Rogan dismounts, advances to his prisoner, orders him to put his hands behind his back, and snaps handcuffs on his wrists. You're Sam Hodges, but that don't help you none. You're nabbed with the goods, old boy. Hope to die if you ain't. Pretty doggone foxy. Ain't you digging this tunnel and sticking right here after you pull the job, instead of flagging your kite? But I slipped up on you afore you had time to cash. To plunder, Hodges cuts loose a string of profanity that'd make a mule skinner sit up and take notice. I untie the slicker with shaking hands high. My box of cigars is there. But I ain't time to hide them before the other 4 of the posse thunder up. Seb's eyes stick out boring into me as he sees the cigar box. I can almost hear his teeth gnash. I don't need telling that the sight of that cigar box exactly like his own makes him certain that I've tricked him. Got him, Rogan explains to the bunch. There's your guns. Them cigars yourn to me. I nod and mount my horse with the box in my hand. Hodges stops cussing and gapes at the posse. The guns, the slicker, the box of cigars. Maybe ya locoed nuts'll tell me what it's all about, says he. Proddy but bewildered. Here's the money, Cole Lampman wants to know. This man answers the description, don't he, boys? A tall man, hobnailed shoes, bleached overalls, faded brown shirt, black slouch hat. Castle and Zeb nod sure it's the bird, says Rogan. He's just throwed this plunder on his boss to ditch it someplace. He wants spectin' me. Now then, let's get to the bottom of this. Hodges, where's that money? $9,000 wrapped in brown paper inside a red leather wallet come through. Sam Hodges goes hog wild, violently jerking his arms as much as the handcuffs will permit, his gray beard sticking out, seeming to bristle as he cusses everybody. He knows nothing about any of this stuff. Money wallet. What the blue blazes say is somebody trying to hang something on him? My gobs, he'll bleach the bones of the son of a pirate that tries that hang something on her. I'm a-goin' to hang you if you don't spit out where that roll is, and doggone quick, Rogan growls in his best third-degree manner. It's one dead mortal sin she stole it. I am the sheriff of Lobo, and I am at her results. I makes my own law, Sam Hodges, I am a-goin' to make Lobo County safe for a man to $10 round in his pocket without being stuck up. Come clean pronto, or I am going to make one example of you. Saying which Sheriff Rogan drops the noose end of his rope around Hodges' neck and tosses the other end over the limb of a tree. The rest of us exchange startled glances. Hodges ceases ranting. He's scared but speechless with fury. Cole Lamon, his grim face hard as rock, says, "Boys, I am backing the sheriff in this. I want that money. Come, you dirty crook, where is it?" He edges his hoss around and, picking up the loose end of the rope, takes a turn round his saddle horn. "I'll sure have the law on you for this," Hodges gurgles. I'll. 2 minutes to tell whar at it is. Oh, he stretches your neck. Rogan cuts him off, hauling out his watch. The faces of Castle and Hardin are as tense as Hereford bulls about to clash with each other. Zed Perkins has a sort of half-mocking sneer on his lips. I open my mouth to tell where the money is, close it soundlessly. My joke on Perkins has landed me in a pretty pickle, and Perkins will damn me utterly. How on earth can I explain the money's being in my possession? They'll all swear that I stole it from Castle. Later I'll go straight to Cole Lampman, turn the money over to him, tell him the truth, and take my chances. At least he'll have to admit then that I am honest. I'll wait. Hodges will surely tell what he's done with the wallet. No, he can't, because it wasn't him that robbed us. That bandit's eyes were a deep brown, almost black. Sam Hodges' eyes are a faded blue. What'll I do? 1 minute, rumbles Rogan. Hodges' old face blanched, simply glares defiance. But what's the matter with Cassell and Hardin in the seconds when they ain't looking with horrified wonder at the man about to be hanged? They're snarling at each other with their eyes and lips like dog and cat about to tangle. "Time's up!" Rogan snaps his watch shut. "Hist away, Lamon." Cole Lamon hoists. Sam Hodges, kicking frantic, swings clear of the ground. "Stop!" The word leaps from Twister Castle's lips like a pistol shot. "Stop. Rube Hardin's the coyote that robbed me." Lampman drops the rope, spurs his hoss around to face the partners. Hodges plunks to earth and sits up strangling and sputtering. Rogan pivots, his eyes popping out and his jaw dropping. "Why, you double-crossing skunk?" Hardin mouths, and he's out of his saddle and upon Castle in one panther-like spring, with a snort of terror. Twister's hoss starts pitching, landing 10 feet away. 2 jumps quicker and you can snap your fingers, and Castle and Hardin's both thrown, breaking apart as they hit the ground. Sheriff Rogan leaps between them. "Now we'll get to the bottom of this." His voice booms as Twister and Rue bounce to their feet in his grip, his arms spread wide, holding them apart. "He done her." Castle shrills. "I found out when I got home. I wa'n't squillin' 'cause he was my pard, but I can't see no innocent man hung. Of course, he planted this evidence, the clothes he wore, hat and all, is at the house. He didn't have time to turn 'em, but cuss him. He's hid the money. There wa'n't nothing in that wallet but a package of PER. Yon, squeal on me, would ya? I'll fix you good and plenty." Twister Castle, Rube snarls, "Paper?" "Yeah, there was paper in that wallet 'cause this dirty skunk has cashed the money and put the paper in it. He's the thief. They want no money. She was juice as I got her in Omaha. Twister yammers Rube's hid that money. I catched him with the goods. Except for the cash, that's what we was scrapping about. Make him come across, Rogan. He's plumb rotten. What you think? You'll hang some thin on me, Castle?" Hardin bellers? Well, I guess not. Wham and Rogan, this double-crossing walloper, planned for me to hold him up and we'd divide the swag. I done my part and there ain't no swag there, Twister. I reckon that makes your nose a heap smut, tiered mine. I ain't stole nothing, I was just playing along. He's the damn thief. Let me at him. I'll make him spit out where at 'tis. You liar, I never planned nothing. Castle hisses. I'll steady now. You boys have slung enough mud at each other, Rongon interrupts. 'Pears you're both bit by the same dog. Now I'll just clamp the bracelets onto both o' you, and then we'll start this thing off from the beginning and get to the bottom of it. Hope to die if we won't. Then something else takes my attention in all of it. It's a gun poking me in the ribs. Zeb Perkins, taking advantage of the excitement, has eased his hoss round beside mine. Hand over that cigar box, you sneak thief, he hisses. Dream fast, I thinks he's going to run for it. It's almost dark, he's riding by long odds. The fastest hoss in the bunch. In this timber he'll be out of sight in the wink of an eye. Now or never, the chance I've sought to protect Cole Lampman's money. Zeb's on my left side, a little behind me. The box of cigars is in my right hand. I'll have to half turn to hand it to him. As my arm comes around in a half circle, and Zeb drops his bridle reins to grab the box in his left hand, I spurs my bronc fearful and reins him sharp around. He pivots in one lunge around Zeb's hoss's head and crashes against his right side. I'm out of my saddle and on Zeb. There is the roar from his revolver as my leap knocks him out of his saddle. Then we're both in the dirt, all tangled up, the cigar box lost in the shuffle. Zeb samples my ear with his teeth. I knead his breadbasket with my knee, then he rips the shirt from my back and I tear out a handful of his hair. Over and over we roll, crashing against a tree. I'm knocked silly for a second. Zeb straddles me and picks up a rock to smash down on my head. A 4 he can do it. I reaches up with one leg and hooks a straight shank spur in his neck right under his chin. He goes backward at my downward tug and my hands grab his frantic kicking legs. Staggering upright, I heave him from me. He lies quiet for a second and here is Roggin a hold of my shoulder. Now, what's the meaning of this? I've got one hell of a posse. Hope to die if I ain't. I am paying no attention to him. I am looking for the cigar box, evidently, when I dropped it to grab Zeb. A hoss had kicked it, for the box is smashed. The cigars are scattered all over, and staring us in the face is a red leather wallet. Cole Lampman sees it. What's this? And he swoops it up. The money, yelps Twister, his eyes jumping out of his head. There's the thief. Roggin arrests Hickety Hike. What there, gasps Hardin, wrenching at his handcuffed hands. Huh? Grunts Roggin, clamping down on my shoulder. Lampman glowers at the wallet, at the paper-wrapped package inside it, at everybody, but mostly at me, so. Just one word, but that somehow damns any explanation I can hope to make. Zeb Perkins sits up, seeing Cole with the wallet. He staggers to his feet, blurting. Guess I stopped Allison's game. Uh-huh. Lampman, this damn step-and-a-half feller was trying, he beat it with the swag. I was laying for him. I twist out of Roggin's grip and dive for Zeb. I gets in one good lick afore the sheriff could nab me again. All bunch of 'em is crooks, Lampman. But now that we've got the money, we'll get to the bottom of this. That'll be plenty from you, Allison, he says. Shake me like I was a little kid. He's that strong. 'Pears like the... Yes, I hope so, grunts Lampman. Because I refused Allison alone, he retaliates by trying to rob me, fine citizen. But how'd you know he had it, Perkins? Don't believe any of his lies, Mr. Lampman, I spout, and tell what I'd seen Zeb do and why I took the wallet from him. Step-and-a-half's the liar, Zeb yelps. 'Twas me seen him swipe the money. Seen him hide it in his box of cigars, yeah? One or t'other of them perp sure done it. Castle blurts. Yeah, try to skin out at it. Hardin explodes. It's a sure thing they want nothing in the one I got, but I'll bet my last dollar you in on this deal. If them cigars hadn't got split, you three birds would a been settin' pretty. Rogan wags his bullet head sagely, and Cole Lampman addresses himself to Perkins. Look here, Zeb. You're keeping quiet when we were about to hang Hodges. Don't look very good. Why didn't you expose Hickety Hike and disclose the whereabouts of the cash long ago? Why, Zeb's at a loss for a second, then he blats. Why, you see, I was giving Step and a half a chance to come clean, but when I seen him getting ready to make his sneak, I up and jumped him. 'Sides, them pards acted plumb spicious to me. I was waiting to find out who the second thief was, which same we has. Due to me, we've landed 3 crooks, and the money's safe. Whoa, now back up a little. Where do I come in? Rogan wants to know. Jerking his head. I guess I get some credit for these air captures. Say Hickety Hike. If they's any truth in what you say, why didn't you spit out what you knowed and turn the wad over long ago, huh? Makes a stagger at the explanation, but my answer lacks convincingness. Zeb sneers and snaps his fingers in derision. But Sam Hodges, who has kept silent in the midst of the general clamor, now rushes to my aid. I believe Hickety Hike. He shouts, "You too was a watchin', Castle and Hardin, but I seen the start of the scrap between Allison and Perkins. Yep, Hickety Hike went up again Zeb's gun, drawed on him, and crawled his frame. Hickety wa'n't a-makin' no false move. Zeb was a-tryin' to glom onto that cigar box, by gobs. Allison didn't let him get it. Say, Sheriff, take these bracelets. Offen 'em, and 'member this, I am sure goin' to make her hot for you." Perkins dismisses the minor statement with a shrug of his shoulders. Rogan, holding me by the wrist, goes to Hodges, removes the handcuffs, and slaps them onto me. Seeing as how I got this case all cleared up by threatening to lynch you, Sam. Course I wouldn't have gone through your order, be gosh, I'm mighty proud to have been such a hell. The sheriff remarks. Yep, I sure got results. Hope to die if I didn't. All straightened out now. Twister and Hardin and Allison is all guilty. We got the thieves and the money. Didn't take Sheriff Rogan long to get to the bottom of it. Bottom of what? What's straightened out? Lampman growls. Nothing straight or clear. Castle accuses Hardin. Hardin accuses Cassell. Perkins and Allison accuse each other. Hardin accuses the other 3 which one stole. What? Who's lying? They say there's another wallet somewhere. Say, wait a minute. Have we got the money? He hauls the bill fold out of one pocket and his knife out of another. His long, bony fingers tremble as he cuts the brown paper wrapping on the package. Every eye is upon him as from his suddenly nerveless fingers, sheets of brown paper the size of bills flutter to the ground. Little gasps from the onlookers, then stunned silence. Perkins' strained yelp breaks the spell. Paper! Hickety Hike tricked us all! Oh, shut up! Cole Lampman roars. These, the whole bunch of you, Rogan. Arrest that Perkins also, to jail with them all. There, we'll sift this thing out from the very start. Yes, sir, replies Rogan, producing yet another pair of handcuffs and putting them on the protestant Sputter and Zeb. You come along as a witness, Hodges. We will get to the bottom of it. It's a dang queer case. Hope to die if it ain't. Dang queer case. That's what I think. It's what I'm still thinking 2 hours later inside a cell at the Lobo jail. Fortunately, there are 4 cells, so no 2 of us are together, for we'd certainly fly at each other's throats. One of us suspects the other 3 for what? What became of the cash? Here I never wanted to do right so much in my life, and I am in the worst pickle of my life. Bessie'll hear of it, that'll queer me with her. And as for getting on the good side of Cole Lampman, even if I escape a prison sentence, I'll be disgraced and branded as untrustworthy, gone all my dreams of the future, no home, no Bessie, no nothing. However, I am not left alone with my misery for long. Half an hour after the cell door is closed behind me, here comes Cole Lampman with Rogan and Sam Hodges. Saying nothing, the sheriff leads me to his office and removes the handcuffs. Lampman turns up the coal oil lamp and faces me across the table. Allison, He begins gruff as ever. Several days ago, when you came to me for a loan, you mentioned that I owed my happy marriage to the prank of a cowboy. All unwittingly, you hit the nail on the head the night when you substituted a white cow for my pony in front of Mrs. Gunlick's house. She'd refused me. In the dark, I mounted the cow, which threw me. The widow, fearful that I was seriously injured, realized that I meant something to her and capitulated. After you'd gone that day, I saw the joke from an entirely new angle. Boys ought to be full of the old Nick. There's nothing worse than a mollycoddle. I made inquiries and found that you were keeping company with a mighty fine girl. McKay spoke well of you, and your frankness impressed me favorably. The truthfulness of an applicant is the biggest factor with me in making a loan. Which brings us to this rummy mess of today. No, don't say anything yet. When I get your answer to 2 questions, I'll know all I need to. I stare at the moneylender in wonder as he produces a letter from his pocket and resumes. Since we reached town, I got my mail. This is from Frank Brooks. I'll read a part of it, dear Lampman. I am sending a draft for the $9,000 to the Lobo County Bank to be credited to your account, and I don't care a hoot whether you like it or not. You see, I talked this matter over with Hickety Hike Allison, who I know is a reliable youngster, and we considered it risky to send the cash. Decided to switch packages on Castle at the last minute. Cole Lampman looks up, his stony eyes seeking mine. I scarcely see him, for things are whirling in my head into my chaotic thoughts. His words intrude once more. It appears, Allison, that you helped to safeguard my money by advising Brooks to send a draft, which events have proved was the wisest and safest thing to do. This letter releases you from any theft charge, for you knew all the time that Castle carried only paper in his wallet. Yet, why did you say nothing of this? And why did you go against Zeb Perkins' gun to defend a cigar box? Sam Hodges says it was the nerviest thing he ever saw. His implacable old eyes seemed to bore into my head like augers. Here's an undreamed-of chance to square myself. The future dawns rosy just as quick as I tell 2 plausible lies. That's the devil of it. Have I got to explain my acts by lies? Yes, to make myself solid with Lampman, for he now thinks that I knew where the money was all the time, and that my advice to Brooks ensured its safety. If I invent passable answers to his questions, he'll continue to think so, whereas, if I tell the truth, he's almost sure to think, as he did before receiving the commission man's letter, that I fully intended to rob him myself. Brooks must have thought that he told me his plan. Anyway, his letter gives me the chance to jump out of the frying pan of suspicion. But I'll have to lie. Have to, for my future's at stake. Well, queries the moneylender, impatient at my long delay in answering. Dan McKay told me you were a square-shooting kid, but there are some mighty funny angles to today's play. Something snaps in my brain. McKay said I was a square shooter, so I am. Looking Cole Lampman in the eyes, I perform what I consider the bravest act of my life, although it is an altogether different test of courage from that of physical struggle. Mr. Lampman, Brooks did not take me into his confidence. I took what I thought was the money from Perkins to trick him and to protect you, owing to the second holdup. I landed in a predicament I couldn't explain. Believing the box of cigars contained your money, I defended it. That's the truth, and you can think as you damn please about my intentions. Silence in the office. Roggan's bullet head nods back and forth. Back and forth. Sam Hodges sucks loudly at an empty pipe. A smile cracks Cole Lampman's wintry face. Bully for you, boy. Bully, he ejaculates. For I now know that you told the truth all the time. Yes, I lied, to try and trap you and to test you. You see, Brooks says nothing in this letter about having told you what he intended doing. As I do nothing but gawk at him, Lampman continues, suppose we go over to the restaurant and get a feed while we talk over that loan you spoke of the other day. Thank you so much for hanging out today. My name is Saul, and this is the Pulp Archive. Now, if you had fun, I'd appreciate it if you could like, subscribe, comment, and share. That stuff really helps. And like most stories we cover here, today's was recommended by you. So if there's a story you'd like to see, send us an email at pulparchivelibrary@gmail.com. We'd love to cover it. If you'd like to support the podcast and keep us going, consider becoming a member on Patreon. Just visit patreon.com/pulparchive For a few bucks a month, you'll get access to all our podcasts, narration of complete issues, and private explicit episodes that wouldn't be allowed publicly. We feature almost every genre of pulp, fiction, horror, detective, western, and even sports. Special thanks to our patrons who make the podcast possible and make every episode of the Pulp Archive happen. Every episode is dedicated to our Patreon members. I truly could not do this without you.